Hello everyone and good day. Dan Manson here. That's right, Dan the man with the plan is here to stay. And today I'm here to talk to you about Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising. Now, I did mention in the Street Fighter video that I thought the beta was out and I was going to get into playing it. However, what happened was the beta wasn't out the day I said that, the day I was recording the Street Fighter video. It was available for download, but it wasn't online just yet. So what I did was I waited for the beta to come out, and well, when the beta came out, I was unavailable to play the beta until the very last day for maybe 30 minutes before the beta went offline. So what you're seeing in the background are the few fights I did get to play in the beta before the, beta went offline. And I decided to go with Gran and Jita for the two characters I would play because those are essentially my first mains I picked up in the game. My first main I picked up in the game was actually Narmaya, but Gran and Jita are like the most iconic characters for me to play because my Gran is usually really good, except for, right now, what you're seeing in the background. I'm not doing that great with him because I'm still trying to get used to the game, and especially with there being new mechanics in the game, which you'll see in a little bit in this round especially. There's a new guard break system that this Vera uses very effectively on me. Not like right after she transforms right here. But yeah, with the new mechanics in the game, yep, there you go. That's the guard break that can lead into some insane combos. And as you see, she gets a pretty decent combo on me. But the new mechanics in the game, I say, add a new layer of enjoyment to the game for me. Because while Granblue Fantasy Versus was an amazing game and I did have fun playing with it, I only had fun playing the game with friends. I didn't quite go online on ranked that much. I think I went online ranked once. Even still, it wasn't that huge of an experience for me. I will say I do love, real quick, this super that Gran has where his hair turns blue now. I really love that. It adds more character to him. But back to what I was saying, I do think that the game is more enjoyable now because there's a lot more mechanics to the game and it feels more fleshed out than the first game. Not to mention that the first game kind of failed due to the lack of tournaments and the lack of press for the game after its release. They did an amazing job with marketing and getting the game's name out there and improving on it and just letting everyone know that this is a game that people are going to want to play. However, what happened was the player base lacked in response to this because they were not sure about the game since the lack of a tournament, the lack of a competitive scene caused the competitive side of the game to seem lacking, when in actuality it just needed to be published in a better time because the time was very inconvenient due to a certain pandemic that was going on around that time. But in the grand scheme of things, this game does add a lot of those improvements that I think will breathe life into the game, especially for people that never picked up the first Granblue Fantasy game. And having all these characters that were DLC at launch, it looks like, it's going to bring in a bigger group of people that are going to be interested in this game and are going to want to try it because, hey, this game has a great roster of characters, it's a big roster of characters, and they're possibly adding more DLC along the road for this game, makes this game more viable to be seen at a more competitive side, especially since the pandemic is now over and we can now have more tournaments and get the competitive side of things out there more often. You can definitely start to see a rise in Granblue Fantasy versus Rising. Now, my review of the beta, I will say I did have these first two fights were probably the laggiest fights I've had to do, and it sucks that I played these two laggy fights with Gran, and the two less laggy fights were with Jita. But I will say that despite the internet, I love the fact that there's rollback, because in my first fight with the Vera, I don't know if you noticed it, but I tried to backdash and then block, and then what I was going to do was rush up to the Vera and attack, obviously just by dashing, so that way if I needed to block in time I could. So upon seeing an attack come out, I held back, but it showed on the screen when it lagged that I got hit. But then what it did was it rolled back and was like, wait, he pressed the block button, but it didn't register. So now it rolled back to that, and I was able to block the attack. The character roster is great. I didn't get a chance to try out Siegfried or any of the other newer characters that were added to Granblue Fantasy Versus after the game's life, but I was able to have a lot of fun with these two starter characters, Gran and Jita coming up in the fights that you'll see in just a second. I think I have a better Jita than I do a Gran. Despite my love for Gran and my love for the male main character, the female main character is probably my favorite to actually play, even though they have very similar movesets. They both have the DP, they both have the projectile, but I feel like Jita's Rekka is a lot better than Gran's boot. That's maybe just a personal opinion since I haven't played the game in so long, but the Rekka leaves more chances for combos and extra flair for your combos. And with that, me being a guy that absolutely loves flair in my combos, I feel like it just works better having Jita be here for me than Gran. Now, both these characters got massive improvements, or through the main mechanic systems, which I haven't even begun to talk about. So, the EX move has always been your input followed by the heavy button. It would be your move where you turn gold and where your move will be able to do more flair than normal. However, they recently changed it to where if you do your input and then press the X button, it'll be some type of EX extra move. I'm not sure what they're calling it in game, but you're able to perform for some of your meter in the top of the screen. For just a little bit of meter, you're able to perform a more powerful EX version of whatever move you input for it to come out. I'm not sure how to utilize it properly just yet. I've used it a few times in game, but not in a combo. I haven't been able to actually test out their use, their abilities, the powers, the frames, anything like that, so I can't tell if it's better than the regular EX or not. I would assume so, considering, you know, the whole background changes and there's more flair for the move, but maybe it's just an aesthetic thing, who knows. I do love the new guard break mechanic. Like I mentioned earlier, there is a new guard break mechanic where while you're pressing your opponent, you can spend 25% of your gauge to guard break your opponent, and then for 25% more, for a total of 50% of your gauge, you can rush down with a follow-up attack, and that follow-up attack leaves the minus, which gives you plenty of time to then jump in and continue your combo and continue your onslaught on the person, despite the fact that they may not be able to do anything about it. And yeah, I have one more fight here, and it's up against this Siegfried, who didn't quite attack as much. He didn't quite show off as much about Siegfried as I was hoping he would, considering I've never seen or played Siegfried before. I think I saw him get announced, but I didn't even see anything about his character, so I wasn't sure what to expect going into this. But as you can see, my combos here are a little bit better than when I fought the Soez before, because thankfully they allowed a training mode option in the beta while you wait between matches. And in doing so, I was able to practice Jita just a little bit to regain my ground with her. And in doing so, I'm able to oppress the Siegfried in a way that I probably wouldn't have been able to had I not had the chance to get the training mode in. But in doing so, this game is honestly looking really great for me, and I can't wait for the full game to release so I can do content on it, because I never got the chance to do content on the first game due to the fact that during its prime, I was not a YouTuber, and not many people were playing it in the first place. And then there's the fact that even now, when I'm playing it, I didn't have as much joy playing it as I probably would with Rising, because Rising it feels more smooth. Despite it being almost the exact same game, it just feels ever so slightly more smooth, and it makes it feel a lot more fun and engaging. Maybe it's also my increase in knowledge in the game, but there you have it. My rating for the beta would probably have to be a 4 out of 5. And I won't rate it any higher because I didn't get as much time with the game. I can't rate it that much lower because I didn't really have too bad of an experience with the beta. A lot of the players I got to play were fun, they were fine, they weren't evil or toxic. I did get oppressed one time, but even with that one time being oppressed, it was because of my lack of game knowledge and their well-acquainted game knowledge. And in doing so, it leads me to think that this game will have a lot more of a learning curve to it than the previous installment of it, and in doing so, it leaves more to be desired from this game, which is something I've been saying a lot during this video, I've come to realize. But all in all, I feel like Granblue Fantasy Rising is going to be what Granblue Fantasy Versus was supposed to be. It's going to be the big game that everyone should be playing, that hopefully everyone will be playing. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. This is, of course, the last fight I got to play before the servers went offline. And yeah, that's all I truly have to say about the game right now. Hopefully I will be covering more news later on as the game continues to get announcements and before it gets announced. And hopefully I will have the game out for you when it releases. So yeah, thank you all for watching today's video. It was just a quick little thing about Granblue Fantasy Versus Rising. A great game that I truthfully cannot wait for the full version to come out so I can just sit down and play these characters over and over again. And yeah, so with all that being said, I hope you all have a great day. Have a fantastic week. And remember, may your heart be your guiding key.